let me just get my tree going. I just forgot right now that I didn't even plug in the train yet, so let's get that going here. There we go. Alright, now, through the obstacle course of lights. Ugh. Okay. Hello everyone. Just move this aside. Good to see you all. And let me get to my my channel to check your guys' comments. It's been a good day, very good day. I'm just a little bit sleepy. So actually, this tea is coming at just the right time. Let me get a spoon in the sugar bowl. Alright, so we have Ozzy. How are you doing, Ozzy? Today the temperature is about 55 degrees, which is really good. Yesterday we had 65. And it was kind of funny, because yesterday I was thinking, I'm like, geez, it is really warm today. Like, I thought it was 85 degrees or something outside. It wasn't. It was 65. But, you know, we had been so used to the winter weather for the last couple months, being 35, 45 degrees at most, Fahrenheit, that is. And so, you know, it being 65 degrees just felt so warm all of a sudden. But we're back down to 55 today, which is a lot better. Let me go ahead and turn the volume off of this thing. Yeah, so pretty good. Today we are having Lady Grey tea, so it's similar to Earl Grey, but just a different flavor, more citrusy. Hello, Historic Ships. Hello, Kevin. Hello, Moordog. Hello, Mike. Hello, Conrad. Ozzy. Moonzer. Rail Enthusiast. Little Gamer. Mike. Ron. Ron says, Alex, I read today the Queen Mary 2 had to cancel the voyage planned today to New York. Technical problems. Oh, no. I'm sure it's not anything too bad. It's, you know, stuff happens sometimes. Moordog says, yesterday wasn't the best. I got seasick heading to the Great Barrier Reef. Oh my gosh. Were you gonna go, were you gonna do, scuba diving or snorkeling or something? I'm curious. I don't think you know, I wouldn't mind being on a very large ship like the Queen Mary 2, but I don't know that I would go snorkeling or scuba diving. I don't like the ocean that much. I mean, it's beautiful, you know, like, I like watching documentaries and stuff about nature, but I am not the world's greatest outdoorsman. Dave Pippin says, hi, Alex, love your Queen Elizabeth documentary. Thank you so much. Yeah, one of the cool things I do, the reason why I do these tea time live streams, for those that are new, is that this China set, this tea set, let me go ahead and actually start the water up. This China set is from the Queen Elizabeth and the Queen Mary. So the oldest piece I have dates back to 1952. The newest piece dates back to 1967. And that's when they stopped producing this China for the two Cunard ships. Well, I should say all the Cunard ships. But specifically, my tea set is from the two Cunard Queens. And then they changed the tea set afterwards for the introduction of Queen Elizabeth II. In 1969. So these are like the last Art Deco style tea sets. And so I thought, you know, months ago or actually a year ago when I started doing these tea times, I thought, you know, I have this tea set, it'd be kind of cool to use it and just kind of, you know, take a moment to talk about ships and steam power and stuff like that with everybody. So that's why I do these tea time live streams. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, even if it's only for a moment. Historic Ship says, hey, Alex, what if the Queen Mary in its current state in dry dock? I don't know what you mean. Usually when a ship goes into dry dock, it's for repairs and stuff, so it wouldn't be in its current condition. It would be fixed up when it was in dry dock. Top Impressive Line says, hey Alex, of course, RMS Queen Mary is the first ship you fully researched out, but what eventually got you to research other ocean liners, such as Mauretania, Oceanic, Turbinia, Lancastria, etc.? I would say it was the Queen Mary, of course. So the Queen Mary, like you said, it was the first ship I ever, like, really loved and researched. And so it was through the research of making videos about the Queen Mary. See, the thing about me is I'm new to ocean liners, and I'm new to a lot of steam-powered stuff, but I love steam power a lot. And so through my videos that I make of the Queen Mary and stuff like that, I actually learn new things because it requires me to do research. And through my research, I learn more and more and more with every video. So it's almost like I learned something and then I'm able to teach it back to people, which is really neat. And so the thing was that, you know, I can only focus on one ship at a time, or else, you know, if I try to focus on 10 different ships, I don't get the best research quality out of all of it. You know, I might skip something. I might get more things wrong. So, but nevertheless, while I was researching Queen Mary, I had discovered, you know, other ships like the Queen Elizabeth and Mauretania and all that. And, you know, I gotta say, like, besides Queen Elizabeth, Mauretania was another ship that really fascinated me, you know, because I had heard Mauretania's name over the years, but not quite understood what the ship was and why it was so important. And Mauretania proved to be a very important ship to history. And that's another, you know, video I'd like to cover sometime, or multiple videos I'd like to cover sometime, is about Mauretania. I don't want to make promises and be like, oh, all my videos will be a full rounded history video like I did with the Queen Elizabeth video. There will be, but I can't promise that that's what they will always be. Because the thing is, you know, there are times where I spend months and months researching a ship to make a full history video about it, and then it just so happens that when I'm ready to publish it, other people are publishing the exact same thing. That happened with my Laconia video. I was doing the TSMS Laconia. I had spent months, I think 6 months or so, researching and working on a video for it. And then there was another YouTuber that posted about it, and I thought, oh, gee, you know, I don't want to post mine now because I don't want to, like, I don't want it to look like I'm trying to take away the other YouTuber's thunder. But at the same time, I was also kind of like, well, he did a really good job, and I think that people watching his video may not be as impressed with my video. And so it's things like that that made me realize I can't always produce single history videos, because it does take months to do that, and sometimes other people don't, you know, they might post the same thing around the same time. But with the Queen Elizabeth video, I had continued on with the idea of doing a full history video about it, because of the fact that while there are history videos about Queen Elizabeth, I always felt like there was more to tell. There was more that was not in their videos quite, you know, quite fully at least. And so I thought, you know, there's something I could still lend to this. It's only when people do a better job than me that I start to feel discouraged. So, you know, I do not think of my videos as the end-all be-all for videos about ships, but, you know, there are times where I feel like I can add something, and then there's times where I feel like I couldn't add as much as somebody else could. And Titanic is one of those things. The Olympic-class ships, you probably will never see, like, full videos about those ships on this channel, because there are people who have literally spent their entire lives researching those ships. They would run me over with their knowledge of the ships, and I know my videos would be very flawed. And then, of course, you have the Olympic enthusiasts who are also extremely knowledgeable. You know, Queen Elizabeth, there are a lot of very knowledgeable people, but there were things that I knew about the ship that would stump those people. And so that's where I feel like, you know, at least my videos would be able to teach something as opposed to just check boxes down their list. And with Olympic class videos, I feel like those would just be me checking boxes for them. And if I missed those boxes, I would get hell for it. So that's why I don't cover Olympic class ships on my channel. And I probably never won't. Never will. I'm sorry, never will. But nevertheless, there are other ships that do interest me. Mauritania, Lusitania, Oceanic of 1899. You know, there are ships... I'm mostly a British liner fan. But there are ships such as the City of Paris, the SS France of 1910 or 1912. I always forget the year. Not the one of 1960. I'm more of a fan of pre-World War II liners. But then there's going to be slightly newer ships, just a couple. There's going to be Queen Elizabeth II will eventually have its own history video. I feel like there's stuff I could add to make a video that is well-rounded with that. And then a Queen Mary II video, which will have to happen after I take my voyage on the Queen Mary II, because I want to get my own footage of that ship. So, there's things such as that. But yeah, I hope that is the answer you were looking for. Let me just preheat these. I put the hottest tap water I have just to start warming them up. And then I pour out half of it and then top it off with boiling water to bring up the temperature yet again. Just so that way, when I'm ready to start brewing tea, I don't introduce thermal shock to the china and crack it. Alright, so that goes there. Since my channel does sort of cover a little bit of Disney history, I do know that last night there was a big event. I learned about it before most people did. But nevertheless, a lot of people started sending me the same images, trying to, like, get me to, you know, to see it. I guess they didn't think I probably had seen it, but that the mechanical dragon they used for their show Fantasmic had completely caught fire, just burst into flames. It started with a fire that happened in the mouth. You see, the dragon is designed to breathe fire a couple of times during the show. And I guess a fire started in the mouth and it spread through the whole thing. Now, the entire animatronic is about 45 feet tall, and it lifts out of a specially designed basement on Tom Sawyer Island in Disneyland. And, it burst into flames. And that dragon was introduced in the year 2010. So it was brand new in 2010. But I do remember when they installed it, and the technicians, I used to have friends who were technicians for the show Fantasmic, and they had called it two different nicknames, Snaps and Murphy. Snaps because all of its body pieces snap together instead of just like bolt together or something like that. But they also called it Murphy because of the fact that every show there was always something wrong with it that they had to fix or try to get right, and it was always up in the air whether or not the dragon would appear for the show. But I do know that dragon has given them problems since day one. And as for like how long it depends on how badly the dragon is damaged. If, most of the dragon is mostly steel. So the only thing that would really burn are the rubber hydraulic hoses, because it is a hydraulic animatronic. And then there are some fiberglass pieces. Maybe the resin possibly would have burnt or melted for sure, or something, or deformed. And the glass in the fiberglass would have melted. So, aside from hydraulic hoses, electrical lines, the gas line and the shells of the animatronic, most of the mechanical functions, such as the actuators and the steel frame, might have survived the fire, depending on how hot the fire got. But we'll have to see. If it's total destruction, they would need to buy a whole new dragon, and that would take years before it was ready to go into a show, at least. If it was just the burning of, the materials that are inside the dragon, then they could replace all that in a matter of months, maybe up to a year, and then get the dragon up and running again. But it all depends on how much damage was caused. Little Gamer says, would you ride an airship or a boat? I would not go on a boat, and I would not go on an airship. I would probably go on an ocean liner, so a ship, but not a boat, and certainly not an airship. So it would have to be like a big ship, like an ocean liner, because I do have a big fear of being out on the open ocean, and it would need to be a big ship for me to go on. So, yeah. Moonzer says, Alex, I have a question. Do you like the fact that they took down the plexiglass windows on the bow of the ship? Queen Mary, I'm guessing you're talking about. I'm devastated. I kind of like the idea of plexiglass windows. Yeah, I mean, I am happy they took it down. In my opinion, the plexiglass the plexiglass windows were not they were not original to the ship. They were installed in like the 1990s, maybe even sooner than that, maybe just 20 years ago at most. And they were installed there because they wanted to add outdoor seating for the bar, the observation bar. And so they were using what was the old promenade area for, it was a wraparound outdoor portion of the promenade. And, if people are going to sit there to have their drinks and their food at night or even during the daytime, they wanted something to break sounds terrible, break the wind. What do I say? Like, they needed something to block the wind from people, because out there in Long Beach, it gets pretty windy. Especially when the Santa Ana winds come in. It's, wow, you can't even. So they wanted the plexiglass windows to block that. And the thing is, though, is that area was never meant to look that way. And it, in my opinion, it destroyed the way the superstructure of the ship looked from a distance, because here was all this beautiful steel and glass work, and then you had these cheap plexiglass windows that were just kind of screwed into the steel. It just didn't look right, and I didn't like the clutter of all those tables on that outdoor promenade. I didn't like it. So I'm really glad that they removed it, and it looks more original, and it helps people to understand things more, because I've had so many people that go, oh, I've been on the Queen Mary, and I thought it was like Titanic where there was a wraparound promenade. And I said, there was, but over the years they've blocked it off and sectionalized it for different reasons. And so I think having the wraparound outdoor promenade available for walking would help people to see how it used to work, at least from outdoors, if not the one that they... Because there was an indoor portion as well, but they expanded into that for the observation bar in the 1970s. But at least if you went from the portside promenade and went outside a little bit and used the outside wraparound, you could get to the starboard side and see how it connected. So yeah, I prefer originality over anything else. There's very few instances on the Queen Mary where I thought that changes they made to the hotel improved upon, what was already there. Just very few examples of that. Let me go ahead and start up the water again. I want to start brewing the tea. Snorkeling, Mordog says, but it started to storm, ruining the ship. Oh, I see. Or ruining the trip, you mean. Yeah, Sorry to hear about that, but yeah, that's pretty crazy, snorkeling. Steve was also answering Moonzer. Two issues I had with the plexiglass partitions around the observation bar. One, they were primarily there to act as a windbreaker, allowing tables out on deck. But this was not original to the ship and stuck out like a sore thumb. Yep, I agree. It's definitely stuck out. The two plexiglass never was replaced for years. It had become fogged out from crazing / UV. It blocked the view from the observation bar out onto the harbor. That's another thing, too. When I was on the Queen Mary in 2020, you couldn't really see the bow of the ship that well because the plexiglass was so stained and fogged out, you know. It had just become somewhat opaque, and it just looked bad. Dave Hippen says, I wonder if you can do a White Star Line documentary. I don't know. That's not really on my priority list. But I wouldn't say, you know, never. Because, frankly, sometimes I surprise myself. There was a time when I didn't like the Queen Elizabeth that much. But as you can see from the video I made, now I love the Queen Elizabeth. So, you know, I don't like to say never because sometimes I surprise myself and I end up being really interested in something that I never thought I'd be interested in. You know, before January of 2020, I really wasn't that interested in the Queen Mary. I didn't know much about it before January of 2020. I thought it was just some ocean liner. I didn't even know that there were so few ocean liners left in the world. I barely even knew the difference between an ocean liner and a cruise ship at that point, but I did know, just barely. So, you know, my tastes and stuff like that change all the time. And my preferences change all the time, so, you know, who knows, maybe one day I'll want to do something like that, but I think okay, that one already boiled. Empty this out. Okay. Just gonna pour the boiling water in there. I'll wait till 3:55. I'm gonna pour out half of that again so I can top it off. So this Lady Grey tea is a bit more delicate, so you don't want straight up boiling water when you brew it. It's got to be just a few degrees below. So I'll wait till 3:55 before I put the tea in. Ron says, I did not know that the anchor in Torrance was from the Queen Elizabeth. I passed that anchor all the time. Now I'm going to... hold on. Just put this in there. There we go. Check on that in 3 minutes. Where was I? Now I'm going to pay it a visit. How fantastic this news is. I lived in Torrance for 15 years. Yeah, that's one of the things, too, was I was talking to a lot of people over the last couple months who had no idea that there were even artifacts left of the Queen Elizabeth on display. So I thought when I made my Queen Elizabeth video, I thought, you know, people are really going to enjoy this, and I better include it, because people really... Sorry, it's bothering me how I can't, like, close the lid, but oh well. Rail Enthusiast says, what oceanic is it? 1870, 1899, or 1928? I don't, you have to, I'm reading your guys' comments from, like, a minute or two in the past because I can't keep up with all of them. So you need to give me more context of your question because I don't know what you're talking about. There were 3 oceanics. There was one from 1870, 1899, and 1928. Or, well, supposedly 1928. They never actually built it. But, or did they? Am I thinking of... No, I'm pretty sure the Oceanic of the 19... Or am I thinking of a different one? I don't know. I don't know enough about ships to be able to answer too many questions. Impressive line says, you know, Alex, since you couldn't upload your video on the TSMS Laconia, could you do a video about the SS Yarmouth Castle, which caught fire and sank like Laconia? It was more important than Laconia. See, the reason why I told you about Laconia is because I was trying to make the point that I don't want to do just history videos about ships. Because look what happened when I did Laconia. I spent months researching it. I didn't think anybody was going to post a video about it. I really didn't. I tried looking up videos about TSMS Laconia, and there might have been like one or two, and they were very short, not very much information, and they were posted years before. So there was no way, I didn't think there was any way that when I was ready to post my video, that someone else would come out with a video about the very same ship. And so that's the point I was trying to make, is I don't want to guarantee that I'm going to make a video about SS Yarmouth Castle, because what if I spend 3 or 6 months working on that video, and then someone else posts a video about it right when I want to, and then, you know, I can't post mine. So that's why I want to focus more on ocean liners in general, talking about things about ocean liners, as opposed to focusing only on history videos about individual liners. And the other thing, too, is that, you know, the majority of people only want to watch video. Like, if I make a history video about an ocean liner, like Queen Elizabeth, I know it's going to be very popular, because Queen Elizabeth is very popular. You know, like, people want to see a video about it, and so there's probably going to be, like, at least 50,000 views by the end of next month, at least, if not way more. And so that made the work all worth it, because the maximum amount of people are watching it. But if I make a video about a lesser-known liner, you know, something that only really the super enthusiasts would know about, like Yarmouth Castle, it might only get up to 10,000 views, which is pretty good. That's still worth it. But the thing is that that's if the video does well. It may not. And then all that work goes for nothing. I learned that people want to see documentaries about the popular ships. So if I do documentaries on ships, it'll probably be the popular ones. And I might just generalize other videos from there, talking about technologies of ocean liners, talking about designs that were seen on ocean liners, things like that. And, you know, because the thing is there are like 100 other YouTubers doing ocean liner videos. And so it's hard. You work months and months to make a video about an ocean liner, just for everybody else to be posting the same videos too. So, you know, it just doesn't, it's, you know, I want to be different. I don't want to be the same as everybody else. Especially because, you know, a lot of ocean liner enthusiasts have had years to learn about this stuff. They could probably write the scripts to some of these videos in their sleep, and I can't. I have to dedicate all that time only for it to go to waste, essentially. So I don't want to get stuck doing that. So there will be documentary videos, but about the more popular liners, the ones that, you know, that people really, really know. QE2, Queen Mary 2, you know, Oceanic of 1899, you know, maybe one of something earlier, I don't know, SS Atlantic or something, I don't know. Things like that. Definitely a Mauritania video for sure. A Lusitania video probably. Things like that. But yeah, I don't know about doing whole videos anymore about the lesser known ships. Thank you, Ron, for the compliment about my Queen Elizabeth video. Hello, Pelly. Oh, jeez. Man, 6 minutes. I gotta learn to, like, stop talking so much, because sometimes I just totally miss the mark. I was supposed to take the tea out 3 minutes ago. I hope it's not too gross, or else I'll have to start over again. I don't want to start over again. Yeah, it looks really dark. It's not supposed to look that dark. But we'll see. Let that sit for a moment to cool down. Alex Seaside of Bulgaria says, hello, I enjoyed your video about QE, so did you learn new things while creating the video? It's a good question. Off the top of my head, I don't recall learning anything particularly new about Queen Elizabeth that I didn't already learn before starting the project. Yeah, no, I don't think there was. I think everything that was listed in the video was stuff I knew prior to starting work on the video. The only thing that I really had to work on when making the video was double checking that I got all the dates right, all the sources were listed, and just making sure that, you know, I had all the information in the correct order, that kind of thing. But everything I listed in the video was something I already knew prior to working on that particular project. But, you know, I think the hardest thing for that video, believe it or not, you guys, the hardest thing of making the Queen Elizabeth video was finding images. You know, I've had so many people that they're like, oh, you should do a video about this ship or that ship. And I'm like, do you have photos? Do you have videos? No, but, you know, just show one photo and it's fine. I'm like, you can't make a video without images. You know, otherwise it's a podcast, and people don't watch those, at least not mine. You know, so my videos have to have images. And so the thing that took so long, the thing that took, you know, 3 to 6 months, depending on, you know, when I turned and worked on it. But the thing that took so long was finding all the images. All that video footage of the Queen Elizabeth, that was unbelievably hard to find. Unbelievably. Because it's out there. The thing is, it's out there. But the problem is when you type it in a search engine, Queen Elizabeth, it doesn't immediately pop up. You know, the ship launching video, the video of launching the Queen Elizabeth, or is it that one, or was it a similar one? Maybe it was that one, maybe it was a similar one. But there was one video I had where I had typed in for months Queen Elizabeth into YouTube, trying to look for video footage, and I could never find the footage I was looking for. And then one day, I typed in like, oh, it was the footage of the ship doing its sea trials. So I didn't think the video of it doing sea trials even existed, because I had tried for months to find it. And then last week, I was like looking for a photo of Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, aboard the Queen Elizabeth. And in searching for that photo, all of a sudden a video popped up of Queen Elizabeth on the ship. And I thought, oh, this will be a good video. And when I looked at it, I found out it was the sea trials video. And I was just flabbergasted, because I had been trying for months to find the sea trials video. The video was not labeled Sea Trials of the Queen Elizabeth. It was just labeled Her Majesty Visits the Queen Elizabeth, or something like that. And, you know, or something, or Her Majesty Visits the... No, Her Majesty Visits the Cunard. it was not even labeled RMS Queen Elizabeth. So that's why in my searches for months I couldn't find it. It wasn't even labeled RMS Queen Elizabeth. So it could have been anything. And so that's the problem with finding all this footage is, you know, a simple search doesn't always reveal what you're looking for. And so it takes months and months to find that stuff. And I was really lucky to find that video. You know, and yeah, so I built up this catalog of videos and photos of the Queen Elizabeth, and then I like to make my videos in 4K for people who watch on their televisions. So I then had to convert all that stuff to higher definition. I don't necessarily convert it all to 4K because sometimes it doesn't look good in 4K, but it will look better in 1080p, and from there your television will upscale it and make it look better. So so I had to convert all that stuff from like 360, 480p up to 1080p, and some of the footage was already like 4K depending on what I got. If it was footage of Queen Mary in Long Beach, it was already 4K. You know, so it was things like that. All had to be upgraded. All the photos I had, some of the photos were really bad quality when I got them, and you couldn't even tell like it was the Queen Elizabeth ship in the photograph. So I ran it through the AI software, which upgraded the photo to like 4K quality and made it much sharper and much easier to see. And then you could tell, you know, oh, that's the Queen Elizabeth. So yeah, I was really happy. I've been using that software for a while now, and I love it because it can make the worst photos suddenly look nice again. So, and it'll restore faces too. So if there's people's faces in photographs and their face is completely blurry because the photograph is so low pixel, you know, it will bring their face back, and it's pretty accurate. I've ran through some poor quality photos of Walt Disney through it, and sometimes it'll get his face accurate, and other times it'll just look weird. Like one time he had no chin; it was just his mouth open, and I thought, okay, that's scary. Let's not do that. But yeah, so interesting. That's why it took so long to make that video, was all the images. Moonzer asks, will there ever be a Queen Mary 3? I mean, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I don't see why there wouldn't be, but I also don't see a current reason why there would be. But, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. Hello, Mark. How's it going? I see. Yeah, Years of Seas, SS France 1910, went into service 1912. Yeah, that's why I always get it mistaken, because you see, I'll forget, like tomorrow if I mention it, I'll forget it. I won't be able to say, oh, SS France of 1910 or 1912. I'll still forget it, so I have to have like the information written down in front of me to get it right. Let's see. So the SS United States in Philadelphia is an interesting situation because I think people take for granted the Queen Mary's circumstances. The Queen Mary is currently... Let me taste test this. It's drinkable. It's not its best. It's a bit strong, but it's drinkable. The Queen Mary has very unique circumstances. And this is important for understanding what I'm about to say about the SS United States. The Queen Mary was purchased by the city of Long Beach. And when it came to Long Beach, they already had a place for it. They knew it was going to go to Pier, I think it's Pier J, whatever it is. Well, Where it is now is where it was going to go. That's what I'm trying to say. It was 45 acres of reclaimed land along the harbor. And that land includes a little bit of the area of water, just, about 200 feet or so from the land. And that is considered part of the land. And that's really important to understanding what I'm about to say next. When the Queen Elizabeth, or Queen Mary, when the Queen Mary was being converted into a hotel, the thing was that there were a lot of strict maritime laws. And some of the things that, I know that there were things that the maritime laws required updating of the Queen Mary if they were going to keep using it. And they weren't going to approve other things happening to the ship. So the the United States Coast Guard then deemed the Queen Mary a building, not a ship, a building. That way, the city of Long Beach would have control over, first of all, keeping the ship original. Believe it or not, yes, keeping the ship original. Because if it was going to carry people and be redesignated for holding, civilians, it would have needed major changes done. I was reading that, in my research, about a year ago. So it was designated a building to preserve its history, but also allow them to make changes to it without having to have the ship re-certified through, I forget what maritime standards. I don't know if it's SOLAS or whatever, but it's other maritime standards. And so that's important to the next thing I'm about to say. And then finally, when the Queen Mary was parked where it is, docked where it is, the ship was floating on land that was all part of the package deal. So the Queen Mary does not pay port fees, does not pay docking fees, or other fees that are accrued through a ship moored to a dock. The Queen Mary doesn't have to pay for that. That's a big deal. Now, the thing about the SS United States was that due to the fact that it was still designated a ship, they had to make changes. They had to rip things out. And then there were other factors too. One of the biggest reasons the ship is gutted was to remove all of its asbestos, because there were rules against having asbestos on a passenger carrying liner. And so even though the ship was retired, they needed to get rid of all the asbestos. And so that's one of the things that would have happened to the Queen Mary if it was still designated a ship. So, with that being said, all the historic interest, all the physical details of the interiors of the SS United States, all the stuff that made it beautiful on the inside, was ripped out for one reason or another. Either it was asbestos, or it wasn't meeting current standards, or it was considered a fire hazard, or this, that, or whatever. There was several reasons for removing a ton of stuff from the ship over the years. And then a lot of the stuff was sold off to help pay for keeping the ship maintained. So that was another reason for gutting the ship, to the point where now there is nothing, no fittings on the ship that are left on the ship to make it historically interesting. The only thing that is left are the engines in the engine room. And I think I heard the boilers are still there. But other than that, the ship, there's nothing left aboard the SS United States. And the SS United States is still designated as a ship, which will make it very difficult, unless it is designated as a building, to restore it back to its original look. It's not impossible, but they would have to jump through a bunch of hoops to do it. And then the ship has to pay mooring fees and environmental fees and a whole bunch of stuff. It ends up costing hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. I think just a little over 100,000. I think I'm being a bit exaggerative, but I think about $100,000 a month or so is spent on the ship, and that is expensive, really expensive. So everybody has these ideas like, oh, the ship could return to service. No, I mean, it could, but it would need major changes. That's why, that one company came in and said, we'll turn it into a cruise ship and add like 3 decks to its original height or whatever. But they did not continue with that idea because it was too expensive and it wouldn't have had much of a return, And then there's ideas of turning it into a museum. What would the museum be? All of its original fittings are gone. Even if you could bring back all the fittings from the private collections, it would be very difficult to do so. People don't want to get rid of private collections. If someone came in tomorrow and was like, Alex, we need this tea set for the Queen Mary, I'd be like, I'm going to wait on selling it to you because I want to make sure that everything on the Queen Mary is good before I give away my most prized possession. So it would be very difficult to get back all that stuff that was sold. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's really, really expensive, and there's no reason to keep the SS United States around when almost everything historical about it has been removed. All it is an empty shell. You would have to invest hundreds of millions. I think they did the calculation. It's something around $500 to $700 million worth of restoration effort to get it to look somewhat like it used to. And even then, wherever it's parked, it has to pay port fees. So it's just so much more expensive than it's worth. And that sucks because, I don't want them to get rid of it. I don't want to see the ship scrapped. But I don't have the same confidence in the SS United States that I have in the Queen Mary. Because the Queen Mary is still historic. There's still original furnishings, original stuff all over the ship to see. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the SS United States. Alex on Seaside of Bulgaria says, do you have a favorite tank type? Mine is T-34. I don't know what you mean. Rail Enthusiast says, why did they stop Oceanic 3? To my knowledge, it was the Great Depression. They just didn't have the money to do it. So, they were in the middle of building it, and then they had to stop. They just didn't have the money. Like, White Star Line was about to go out of business. That's why White Star Line had to merge with Cunard, because they were just completely out of money. And Cunard didn't care about, the Third Oceanic. They cared about the Queen Mary, and that was their biggest goal. Hello, Chris. Lunzer says, Queen Mary's observation bar has some chairs from Queen Elizabeth's observation bar. But Steve says, chairs from Queen Elizabeth's observation bar were used aboard the Queen Mary in 1966 to 1967, but the chairs were not used in Queen Mary's observation bar. In the 90s, there were 8 QE chairs still aboard, but sold off. Historic Production says, hi Alex, how are you doing? I'm doing good. It's a good day. Rail Enthusiast said, should Concorde fly again? I mean, I don't know. I'm not a fan of airliners or whatever you call them, airplanes. I don't know. Hello, Titanic Expert. Do you have a Discord? No, I don't have a Discord. I used to, but the thing is I don't do Discord because, first of all, I can never keep up with it. I had a Discord. I couldn't keep up with it. I'm really busy with my channel. Don't really have time for Discord. But the other thing, too, is that I don't have a public Discord. because of the fact that I would also have to keep everything in order, make sure, nobody's doing anything wrong, and I don't have the time to monitor something like that. Moonzer, thank you so much for the invitation, Moonzer, but I don't do Discord servers. Titanic Expert says, have you heard of Brightside? I don't watch their videos, but I have heard of them. Real Enthusiast says, I love Brightside. Yeah, I do have to warn you, though, Brightside, so Brightside, not Bright Sun, but Brightside, the Titanic community does not consider their videos accurate. So, personally, as an ocean liner enthusiast, I would not recommend watching Brightside videos for that reason. If you're looking for something that's really accurate and stuff like that, watch, the other folks who, have really, really been working on this stuff for years. Titanic Honor and Glory, Titanic University, Ocean Liner Designs, and Historic Travels. Those 4 channels are just super accurate when it comes to Titanic stuff. So yeah, I have, the Titanic community does not really recommend Brightside. Moonzer says, do you like green tea? I only have green tea when I eat Japanese food. Lachlan says, I think the parquet flooring in the main lounge of Queen Mary should be restored, as well as the recessed lighting that was torn out. Just doing that would make a major difference. I agree, that'd be really nice. Top impressive line. I would say yes to your question, because I think William Francis Gibbs did reference Morro Castle and SS Normandy. So I think I'm pretty sure he did reference those ships when talking about fire safety on his ship. So I'm pretty sure that was his inspiration for his obsession and paranoia with fire safety aboard the SS United States. Moonzer says, Alex, what would be happening right now if the Queen Elizabeth was still around today? Would it become a hotel museum? I'm asked this a lot, and I think mainly the answer I have for that is it would be a miracle if the Queen Elizabeth was still around today. We're talking about the fact that it burned 50 years ago, and a lot can happen over 50 years. So, I can't stress enough how big of a miracle it is that Queen Mary is still around. That is a miracle. That's not something we should take for granted. Most ships, they do not last as long as Queen Mary. Especially not with the neglect that the Queen Mary has faced over the last 3 decades. That alone was almost certain to seal her fate. But, so I would think that if Queen Elizabeth was still around today, I would also think that was a miracle. Almost like divine intervention. So I don't want people to walk away thinking, oh, Queen Elizabeth would have been around today just because Queen Mary is. No. Queen Mary, once again, very, very rare circumstances, having not to pay those fees, being successfully used as a hotel and museum. And then the fact that it gets its maintenance budget, or at least a few times over the years, from the Tidelands Fund, which is not normally used for ships. The Tidelands Fund is used for coastal management. So the Queen Mary, being the only ship on their roster that gets money from the Tidelands Fund, is really rare. So, you know, it is literally a miracle the Queen Mary is still around. So part of me is just kind of like, you know, it's possible that if Queen Elizabeth did not burn down in 1972, she probably would have only been around to the 1990s. So, it's just really, really difficult to see the ship still being around today. Let's see. Alex C. out of Bulgaria says, I might have forgotten, but I think you're about to post a video about the Mauritania of 1907, but again, someone else did it before you, and now you want to wait, or am I wrong? You are correct. I was in the process of finishing a video about Mauritania, and then literally 2 different YouTube channels more popular than me, ended up posting Mauritania videos around the same time. And I had to just drop it, because I was like, you know what? If it was one channel, I might have still posted the video. But it was 2 channels posted Mauritania stuff. And I knew that I would have basically been scraping the bottom of the barrel for viewers on that video. Again, I know people are going to say, oh, but Alex just posted anyway, we'll love it. And that's true, but the thing is that, I put all this work into my videos. I want the most amount of people to see it as possible, because eventually the video will become unpopular, and it'll only get 1 view a month, So, look at my video about ocean liners versus cruise ships. I think that only gets like 1 view a week. So, yeah, it's one of those things where I want the most amount of people to see the work, so it feels like, I didn't waste any time on it. And so I didn't think it was a good idea to post a video about Mauritania right after 2 other people did. So, but I think that actually gave me the opportunity to spend more time on the Mauritania video. So I still do plan to release videos about Mauritania, but again, I'm not going to promise it's going to be a full history video. There might be a full history video someday about the Mauritania, but it will likely be the kind of stuff I post about Queen Mary. Look at the videos I did about Queen Mary, like I had a video called Queen Mary, A Whole Lot to Know, because it was about the Queen Mary's hull and all the cool little fun facts about how it was designed. So there might be things like that with the Mauritania videos. I do plan to do like several different things about Mauritania. The design, the way it operated, some facts about, maybe the war and stuff like that. So, but I don't want to promise immediately a full history video all at once of Mauritania, because it seems whenever I do work on those, I end up just having the worst time trying to post it. So, yeah. Cunard says, would the YouTube algorithm push any and all of your ship videos to ship lovers, even if it is a second Laconia video? Some viewers may not even know of the first video. I'm not... So to try to answer your question, I think what you're asking is if I had posted the Laconia video regardless, would it have still pushed viewers to watch my other stuff? If, you know, would YouTube have still recommended my other stuff? The answer is no. I've noticed that if I post a video that is not successful, YouTube will stop recommending all my videos on my channel. And it'll take a couple weeks before YouTube starts promoting my videos again. It's weird the way the YouTube algorithm works, but you pretty much need to post successful videos all the time to keep a good pace. And, you know, I need my videos to be successful, because then what's the point? If no one's watching it, why am I making videos, you know? So, so yeah, I would say that I try to avoid posting videos that I know will not do very well, because then YouTube will stop promoting all my videos across the board. It was even a risk doing this live stream today, believe it or not, because when I posted the Queen Elizabeth video yesterday, it was doing very well. I think in a matter of 24 hours, it got 10,000 views, which is really good, and it definitely made me feel like, oh, finally, I was, you know, all that work, all those months of work, finally I got seen by a nice number of people. Yeah, it does become a thing where these live streams are not that popular. I mean, look right now, there's about maybe 45 or less people watching at this moment. And probably at the end of my live stream, it would have been a total of maybe 550 people had watched all at once, at most. That's not technically a successful video. And sometimes what happens is right after the live stream, I'll notice a popular video. Like, I won't even be surprised if after this live stream ends, I look at the viewership on my Queen Elizabeth video, and all of a sudden it flatlines. That might happen. So I was actually nervous about going live today, because going live could have killed viewership on my Queen Elizabeth video, even though it was going up and up and up. So, but I decided to take that risk, because this will probably be the last tea time I do before May 3rd. May 3rd will be the next one. So, I'll talk more about that in a few minutes. Carter says, did QE2 enter New York on May 2nd, 1969? I don't know. Cunard says, overbrewing the Lady Grey tea, you may have just made a new discovery. Better? Can it take milk now? No, it definitely can't take milk, because any flavor it has will definitely be dulled. But it also doesn't taste good being overbrewed either. It's one of those teas that needs to taste almost like water for it to taste good. So that's why I haven't really been drinking much of it. It's not bad, it's just not the way it should taste. It's okay. I just overbrewed it. Moonzer says, I have tons of QE pics. Do you want me to send them to you, Alex? You know, not at the moment, no. I've just finished my QE video. I don't really have a need for the photos now. So, but that's all right. Thank you so much. Lachlan says, Alex, if you're looking for clips of the Queen Elizabeth, there is a video called Topliner 1948. It has great footage of the ship docking and interior as well. Yes, I did use footage from Topliner 1948. That was in my video yesterday. So, but yeah, thank you guys for the suggestions. I've already done a Queen Elizabeth video, so now I don't even need photos and video anymore. Little Gamer says, perhaps use AI to do things like extend footage. I wouldn't even know how to do that. I've never heard of AI doing that. And I don't have that kind of software. My software is designed for upgrading footage. It's not designed for making footage. So, I think New York, May 1st. Trouble finding footage in the video you need is exact same struggle as finding problems. Here's a C says, what do you like the most about SS France 1912? The way she looks on the inside. Joplin says, have you ever been on the USS Iowa? No, I haven't. I didn't even know it was, I didn't even know it was in LA until after I moved away. So I would have visited it if I knew it was there, but I didn't even know. Alex C. out of Bulgaria says, you're wrong about Oceanic 3. The ship's construction was stopped and scrapped before the merger of Cunard Line and the White Star Line. Yes, but I thought I had mentioned that the Depression is what stopped it. So I said that the Depression is what stopped the construction of Oceanic 3, and then eventually White Star Line was going out of business, so they merged with Cunard Line, but I don't think I said that it was stopped because of the merger. It was a portion of 700 million was martial restoration and port facilities. This would be the rest of the cost. Hey Doc, how's it going? Sorry, I'm just reading comments, trying to... Because sometimes people say things, and then I have to go back and read a previous comment that they might have made that might make sense. Daniel says, hey Alex, I'm sorry I'm late. Question is, why isn't Queen Mary 2 nicknamed QM2 while Queen Elizabeth 2 has the nickname QE2? The Queen Mary 2 does have the nickname QM2. It is definitely a popular way of shortening Queen Mary 2. So it is. It's used just as often as QE2 is used with the Queen Elizabeth. Thank you, Justin, for sharing my video. Steve from Blue Ribbon says, when I get the Blue Ribbon channel going on new content, I think I will probably avoid Titanic as a subject for a video. LOL, I know that it would be ripped apart and I don't need the stress. Yeah, it would be. I mean, that's exactly why I don't really cover Olympic class ships on my channel. Is there are people who just know so much more than I do, and all I would be doing is just be trying to check off the boxes on their list, and I wouldn't be able to teach anybody anything new. Lachlan says, are you moving, Alex? Yes, indeed. So, that's what I wanted to tell you guys. So, Today's tea time will probably be the last tea time until May 3rd. Because I will be moving over the course of the week. And I need to pack everything up. You know, computer will have to be disconnected and all that. And it may not be reconnected for a while. I will try to do another live stream of something later this week. Maybe not it won't be a tea time for sure, but it will probably be something else later this week. But otherwise, yeah, I am moving into a larger apartment, and hopefully May 3rd, you guys will see a whole new setup, a whole new background. I would like to try to create a much nicer, cleaner, neater background for when I do live streams like this. Because this apartment doesn't permit me to be able to do tea times with an ocean liner background and stuff like that. Like, it just doesn't work that way. So I'd like to be able to do that. So we'll see. Lachlan says, "Hi Alex, greetings from Sydney, Australia." Greetings, Lachlan. Chilling the Frozen North says, "Good evening, Alex. I am really enjoying your RMS Queen Elizabeth video. I'm looking forward to your RMS Mauretania video. Are you considering a video on the RMS Mauretania of 1938? I might eventually do one, but it's not on the current plan. So I have ideas for videos I'm doing well a year into the future. But the thing is there's a lot of ships. And I don't only want to do ships. This channel isn't just about ships. This channel is about steam, the age of steam. And so I need to focus on other trains, other railroads. You know, I want to do a video about steam tractors, things like that. So this channel isn't only about ships. And of course, it's also about the age of steam in other locations. So it can be about cities and things like that, and the history of certain places and things. You know, I want to do videos about New Orleans. Like, New Orleans is my other passion. I really want to do videos about New Orleans. And then when I do my UK trip, there's going to be videos about various things and places in the UK and Paris and stuff like that. So, you know, it's not just going to be about ships. And so I don't, like, you know, a lot of people, especially in the last couple of days, I've been getting a lot of people saying, "Oh, can you do this ship? Can you do that ship? Can you talk about this, talk about that?" And I can't guarantee it. Like, the way I make videos is I only make videos when the subject matter really jumps out and kind of speaks to me. It catches my attention. It pulls at my emotions. That's when I make a video about something. And so if it's just a random subject and it doesn't really have any particular interest to me, I can't make the video. It's, you know, I need the subject matter to be super catchy and interesting. And so that's why I don't want to promise, like, oh, I'm going to do that, or I'm going to do that, or I'm going to do that. And, you know, unless I absolutely know that it's something super interesting. You know, I don't even like airplanes. But when I was doing research for the Queen Mary, I stumbled upon information on the Spruce Goose, and I ended up getting really interested in the H4 Hercules. And so I ended up making a video about the Hercules. Video didn't do very well, unfortunately, but I put a lot of love into that video. And so I'm very proud of that video. But yeah, you know, I only make videos about stuff that catches my interest, and I have to get it out of my system. And so that's kind of how I do stuff. So that's why I don't accept requests or guarantee that I'm going to make a video about a particular subject, because it has to be like that week I sit down and go, okay, what's the video this week? and then it's got to be something that just jumps off the page and says, make a video about me, you know? That's how I do things. That's kind of a way into my psyche. Whitbits says, hey, just discovered your channel. Great vids. QE was great and can't wait to watch some of your train stuff too, especially your Disney stuff. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoy it all. See you later, rail enthusiast. Doc says, Alex, since I'm not very familiar with model railroads, etc., I was wondering if you have to do anything special with packing them up for the move. Is the setup especially fragile? So all the buildings are removable so far because I haven't glued them down. So I can wrap these up with, I bought special, you ever been to like a store that sells glassware and stuff like that, and then they take this waffly paper and then they wrap it in the paper, and the paper is like, when you pull on it, it stretches and fluffs up. I bought that paper, and I'm going to wrap all this stuff in that to protect it, and it should, you know, when you stretch it, it puffs up a lot, and it should protect it. So all the buildings will be wrapped in that stuff as carefully as I can, because they are fragile. Like, there are tiny pieces on the buildings that I'm worried will break off. And as for the locomotives and the train cars, rolling stock, as we call it, those will have to be specially wrapped too. I'm actually a little bit nervous about it because this particular freight train has brake wheels, little tiny brake wheels, smaller than buttons, and they stand off the top of the cars with a thin piece of wire that represents a steel rod. And I'm so worried about bending those. Thankfully, I replaced the originals with a bendable metal, so if I ever accidentally push against it, I don't permanently bend it. It should bend right back into place. But I'm still worried about permanently bending those and then trying to acquire a metal that will bend back into place. What am I trying to say? It just all needs to be carefully wrapped. Like the most fragile things you've ever had to wrap before, it has to be wrapped that way. And then once it's all wrapped up, I'll carefully arrange it in moving boxes. As for the train layout itself, it is a 4-foot by 8-foot layout, which is just a little over 1 meter by a little under 2 meters. And it is a custom-built table that my friend Steve R. made for me. I gave him my old train layout in exchange for him building me this specially designed custom table. And it basically is designed so it sits on retractable legs, and the legs are a separate piece entirely. Doesn't need to be bolted or anything. It's actually all removable, so you can lift the table off of the legs, and the legs are designed to keep their shape, so that way even if you have the table sitting on the legs won't collapse or anything. But you can lift the whole table off the legs and then carry the table sideways. You know, 2 people can haul it out of the room. And then the legs themselves are one piece that's designed to retract like an accordion. And then that can be carried around out by one person. And so that's how the whole thing is designed. So it is portable. It's huge, by all means, but it's portable. And the thing, though, is that even though it's designed to be portable, the permanent structures, like the bridges on it, are not designed to be portable. They will break. It's almost guaranteed. That's the problem, is that the bridges are all super glued together, but even super glue just doesn't always hold. And so the bridges will break apart, the glue is more likely to fail than the actual wood on the bridges themselves. But there are 3 bridges on it so far. 4, actually. There are 4 bridges on it, and it's guaranteed that there will be damage to each one. It's almost a guarantee that it'll happen. So I am a little bit nervous, but the whole thing, the whole train layout, will be wrapped like a balloon in a big piece of plastic, but maybe not 360 degrees around. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a line between the foam and the wood. And basically where that line is where the plastic will start, and it'll wrap around the top of the layout to fully enclose all the small parts and pieces and the mountain ranges and all that. It'll all be inside that neat little package of plastic. And then everything else will be exposed, so that way the people I've hired can lift it up and hold on to the wood. And it's very complex. I basically had to explain it to the moving company because it is a very unique piece of furniture. And the moving company, they're fine with moving it if you're okay that it's not going to be 100% undamaged when you move it. And I told the guy, I said, look, I understand this thing is probably going to break a little bit. You know, the small models on it will probably break. But you know, it's nothing that I can't fix, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, so maybe when I do my tea time on May 3rd, the train layout may or may not be up and running by then, depending on how much damage happens to the bridges and how much work will have to go into repairing them. So it is definitely a very difficult thing. Chilling in Frozen North says, Alex, do you want us to call your productions videos or documentaries? You can call them whatever you want, just don't call them vlogs. You know, I can't stand it when people see one of my documentaries and they go, thanks for the vlog. And I'm like, this isn't a vlog. Like, a vlog is a video log, like a diary. So a vlog is like something somebody films when they go somewhere and they're like, hi, today I'm going to eat at this restaurant. You know, and they got the camera pointed on them. That's a vlog. So when people see my documentaries and they go, nice vlog, I'm like, it's not a big deal, but it does kind of bother me because I'm like, this isn't a vlog. Like, you can call it a video, you can call it, you know, a production, you can call it a documentary, but just don't call it a vlog. I haven't filmed vlogs since 2019, so yeah. Bungus says, Alex, out of curiosity, do you have any interest in classic ocean liner horns or whistles? Not any more interest than usual, I guess. I mean, I don't have any particular interest in them. Like, I don't go out seeking videos of all the sounds of the horns and whistles. But I mean, when I talk about a specific ocean liner, I make it a point to at least try to learn a little bit about the whistles and how they work. But I mean, I don't know. It's like asking, like, if I care about a car horn, you know, versus the car. It's kind of like I care more about the car than I care about the horn. So, not that I like cars. That was a bad example. I don't even like cars. But yeah, ocean liner, I care more about the ocean liner than I care about the whistles or horns it uses. So, but I don't dislike it, you know. Justin says, I respect your choices, Alex, on video subjects. Quality over quantity. Definitely. I always try to strive for a high quality video, especially with the research. The research has to be good because, you know, when I used to do Disney videos, Disney is something I can recite the information in my sleep. I know it so well. And the problem when I used to make Disney videos was there's a lot of people even today that make Disney videos and they don't bother to do the research. They might do a quick Google search and then they just go and repeat stuff that isn't true. You know, and so I've spent my life researching this stuff. And so when I make videos about, you know, New Orleans or ocean liners or San Francisco or, you know, or trains, I try to do as much research as I possibly can and cross-reference all that research to make sure that the information is as accurate as I can get it, because I understand what it's like to watch a video where the person didn't really even do the research. And then next thing you know, that false information gets spread everywhere. So I definitely try for quality over quantity. Lachlan says, I like the vintage music that is playing. I listen to it every night and read a book. You should dress up in vintage clothes and like pretend you're in the main lounge having tea. That's what I'm doing right now, believe it or not. I can't wear vintage clothes because I'm a really, you know, I'm not making fun of myself. I'm a fat guy, okay? That's just the truth of it. I'm a fat guy. I don't fit in vintage clothing. I don't. I've tried buying vintage clothing. If I wanted to wear vintage clothing, I would have to have it custom made, which means hundreds of dollars. So I can't wear vintage clothing. I want to, but I can't. The best thing I can do is put on, you know, a blazer or something and have tea. And that's pretty much what this whole thing is about, is kind of just, you know, these tea times are basically just my attempt at pretending I'm in the main lounge of the Queen Mary, sipping tea for afternoon tea. That's kind of what I try to do, but I can't do any better than that. Or I can't do any better than this, is what I should say. I can't do any better than this. Doc says, Alex, are hot air balloons part of the steam age, or is that just a Jules Verne fantasy? I don't know. I don't even know when they were invented, to be honest, so I don't know. Brian says, question for Alex. In the 1946 RMS Poseidon... 1946? What? RMS Poseidon, the ship looked like the Queen Mary. They are identical. Is that a question? I haven't read Paul Gallico's Poseidon Adventure. I've only seen the 1972 movie, and then I saw the 2006 movie. So outside of those two movies, I don't know the lore and storyline of the SS Poseidon. So I can't really make a comment about something he wrote in the book. But I mean, all I know is that, you know, Paul Gallico was inspired by the Queen Mary when writing about the SS Poseidon, because he had heard the famous stories of the ship rolling, and he had also been on the ship during a rough storm, and so it gave him the idea of you know, the rogue wave hitting the SS Poseidon. So but yeah, I don't know. Ryan says they may have used the SS Poseidon. I don't know what you're asking. The SS Poseidon is a fictional ship. It wasn't a real ship. It's a fictional ship highly based on the RMS Queen Mary. So that's as much as I can tell you. I'm not understanding the question, though. Mike says you're not fat, you're just big boned. Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, I must be eating a lot of calcium because the bones are getting bigger, so. Alright. What time is it? 5:01? We're doing good. I need to be off this live stream by 5:30. You know, the only thing is when I drink this Lady Grey tea, I don't feel like eating anything with it because I don't know. Like, I like dipping the biscuits in the tea when there's milk in the tea. But I can't put milk in this tea because it makes it bland. And so without milk in the tea, I don't want to dip the biscuit in the tea, and therefore I don't want to eat the biscuit. So I almost feel like I can't eat anything with this tea. Brian says, did you research the Mary Celeste? No, I didn't, unfortunately. I just don't really have time. I'm in the process of moving and everything, and I haven't had any time to myself. You know, after I move into my new place, my sister wants me to babysit her dog. So, for about 5 days, her dog will be living with me. I love the puppy a lot. I really do, but it would be very difficult for me to work on any kind of video while the puppy's in the new apartment, because she demands a lot of attention or makes too much noise for me to record any audio. So there will be a 5-day period where I won't be able to produce any content. I can't even do a live stream, because when I do live streams with her, she wants attention constantly. The puppy doesn't like when I talk to the camera. It confuses her, makes her go like, "What? Who are you talking to? Why are you giving attention to that object?" She's like, "Give me attention." I saw the puppy today, actually, because my sister made us pancakes, made the whole family pancakes. So we went over to her apartment and had pancakes, and I played with the puppy and stuff. And boy, that puppy, she loves attention. Mike says, gotta go. Thanks for the stream. Good luck with the move. Thank you so much, Mike. You know, I think I'm going to get going, too, because it looks like the chat's kind of slowed down and the views are kind of dropping, so... the next tea time I do will be most likely May 3rd. And until then, there may be 1 or 2 live streams that I do that are not tea related. It might be me playing like Titanic Honor and Glory. It might be me playing Disneyland Railroad Simulator. I might even surprise you with some kind of video or something that you guys will see, but we'll have to see how much time I have, because this whole move is going to take up and consume all my time over the next 2 weeks. So, just be aware of that. But otherwise, hopefully everything goes smoothly. And, yeah. I mean, that's all I have for you guys. But thank you guys so much for watching. And I will otherwise, if not sooner, see you all on May 3rd. All right, folks. Bye-bye.